And good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our latest episode of our basement quarantine Zoomcast. And we have a great show coming up for you tonight. We, of course, are brought to you by South Jersey Beer Scene, southjerseybeerscene.com, Facebook, Instagram, wherever fine podcasts are heard, Hopped Up Network, all over the place we are. And with me is the frenetic activity you see below. I don't know where it's going to show when you actually see this, is my partner, my sound guru, my Zoom expert, Uncle Richard Rabick. Hey, Uncle Richard.
Hello.
That's the new.
Sir?
Richard has many names. That's a new one that I just found out on his other podcast he does, Fear of a Craft Beer Planet. He referred to himself as Uncle Richard. I don't know if that's good or bad. And with me, I have the handsome man you see on the screen there is Kris Lewis from Oyster Creek Brewing.
Hello, everyone.
Kris just celebrated a 2-year anniversary. Of course, it wasn't as big a party as the 1-year anniversary was, but he did celebrate it. So we're going to get into that a little bit. First thing we are going to cover is a little bit of news. Kris, as a former home brewer, you probably participated in Big Brew Days with the AHA and the homebrew, etc. Well, Big Brew Day was a virtual Big Brew Day this past Saturday. And we're doing a lot more things virtually now. Of course, the homebrew clubs, and as some of you may know, I'm president of Ocean County Homebrewers. We don't like it. There's nothing we love better than getting together, having a beer, having a homebrew, talking to each other about recipes. That's not possible now, so we've done a lot of things virtually. So it's actually gave me a chance to meet a lot of different people. Met Matt Talbot from Barley Legal Homebrewers, which was one of the biggest ones in the state. Mark up at the Pale Ales, really has probably brought maybe the homebrew community closer together, but it still is virtual. A homebrew, they usually have, every year there's a homebrew con. This year it was supposed to be in Nashville in June. Of course, that is a virtual homebrew con now. They canceled the regular event, so very disappointing for those who are going to go down there to Nashville, but they're going to be doing a virtual event. And that's actually run by the Brewers Association, which is the parent organization for the AHA. And the Brewers Organization also runs Great American Beer Festival, which is out in Denver, scheduled right now for October of this year. So hopefully, we'll see what happens and see if that actually is still on. So virtual. Sometimes there's words that I hate and you learn to hate. I'm starting to hate the word virtual, I think. I'm starting to hate the word virtual.
Yeah.
I know we're doing a lot of things virtually, which is better than being able not to do them at all. This weekend, actually, Tom and John, South Jersey Beer Scene, are hosting Cape May virtual beer festival. You probably won't see this Zoom. It'll probably be over by the time you see this Zoomcast. So anyway, that's just me ranting a little bit on virtual things going on. Now, let's talk to Kris. Oyster Creek, 2nd anniversary. Kris, I do have to mention to everyone, your first anniversary last year, there was a young lady playing ukulele and singing there, and she was terrific. Yep. She was terrific there. I don't know. Can you mention her name on the Zoomcast? You check with Colleen.
Morgan D'Amato.
Oh, is that who it was? She was tremendous, and so you cost me about $180 because I had to go immediately after that. I had to go and buy a ukulele to go with the guitars, and I have actually played it a few times here, and definitely not expert on it, but I got 3 guitars. I'm not expert at them either, so who cares?
Jimi Hendrix by now.
I could be if the quarantine was longer, Richard. I could be because I'm running out of things to do here. So Kris, let's talk about Oyster Creek. You're in Waretown, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Tell us about Waretown. Tell us about getting the license, opening up Oyster Creek, et cetera there.
Waretown's a very, very, very small town. We're population, like, I think a little between 6,000 and 7,000 people. So not very small. We have like one main road that runs through the town. As far as opening a brewery in Waretown, it wasn't necessarily our first choice. We looked at some places that had a lot more traffic initially, but we just couldn't find the right location. And lo and behold, right around the corner from where we live, there's an old strip mall that had a couple of units available. It did take a bit of logistical acrobatics to figure out if we were allowed to build a brewery in the town. The town didn't know what the heck a brewery was, so they had to consult the town. They had to consult the town lawyer, and it took them a couple months to get back to us before we would actually agree to sign a lease on the building. But once the town knew about us, they were very eager to help us along. So they've been nothing but supportive since we've tried to open. We went through a bunch of other nightmares with getting contractors and other things to come in and help us build the place. But after a little over a year, we finally opened, and it's been great. We've had our ups and downs and struggles and scary, financial bits and scary running out of beer bits or, bad batches. And, but we've also had packed houses week after week after week for long stretches. So, and this whole ordeal, it completely changed the way we do business for the time being. We were, mostly living off of our tap room and just starting to really get out into distribution. And we're doing none of that right now. Everything is filling cans for takeout and delivery. We've sold a few kegs to just to individuals for home use. But we're going through a lot of beer right now. Unfortunately, the price point is, because we're doing cans, we're not making as much money as we would be selling a pint over the bar. There's also the material costs, where we had to spend money on can labels and cans themselves. And so the profit margins are a little lower, but we're selling a surprisingly large amount of beer.
And this is your can label. It's actually changed since you first opened.
Oh, yeah.
I would pull this out of here, but...
And I see that. Very nice color. Nice. Now tell us about, we're gonna get back and talk about the current situation, et cetera. But tell us about the name Oyster Creek. Now I'm down here in Southern Ocean County for 35 years, so I know what Oyster Creek is referencing. Mm-hmm. Why don't you fill in some of our watchers? And it's not just listeners anymore; it's watchers, Richard.
So Oyster Creek
you answered my question.
Oh, go ahead. So Oyster Creek is where it was the oldest nuclear plant in the country, and it was about a year and a half ago they finally shut down. But it's a big local landmark. If you're out on the bay, you see it's easier to spot the power plant than it is sometimes to spot the lighthouse, which is a historic landmark. And if you're coming down the parkway, you pass this giant building, off in the woods, and coming from New York to Atlantic City, you always drive past the Oyster Creek power plant. So I grew up around here, so it was always something that was familiar to me. And now where I live, when I was home brewing, in my backyard, I could see the power plant from my backyard. So it's that close. And when we were throwing around the idea of, just spitballing, maybe we'll open a brewery. And I'm like, it'd be a good name, Oyster Creek Brewing. It's like, it has that something. There's a few other breweries out there that have a similar kind of feel to their name. But I thought the idea of tying in the nuclear theme into a lot of what we make. A lot of our beer names are science or nuclear specific. So, we've, right, as I was saying, we opened and then the plant closed not long after that. Mm-hmm. The plant, they have a museum there, and the curator of the museum actually invited us out to the museum to talk, and they hosted an event at our brewery for the last day, the shutdown day. So the plant workers could come, hang out, have a few beers with their friends who they worked with for years, and a lot of them were being shipped off to different places because they all have very specific jobs that are still very important. So one guy might go to a plant in Virginia, and another guy might go to a plant in Montreal. So it was the last time a lot of these people were seeing each other. So it was really nice to have them come in. And along the way, like as the shutdown was happening, a lot of the workers that came to know about us were bringing in memorabilia from the plant. They would bring us pictures. They would bring us step-off pads, which is, if someone comes in, like by we still have one that sits there by our back door. Step-off pad is, I guess, when you're going into a radioactive area, you have to step on this pad, make sure you're clean before you exit, and make sure you're fully equipped to go into a radioactive area. So these pads are designators of entering and exiting a hazardous area.
That sounds like me getting groceries delivered to my house nowadays.
Yeah,
because
right.
It goes to the front step. The garage is the decontamination chamber,
right?
Where packaging is shipped, is changed, and Clorox is used to wipe things down, etc. and so forth. Did you get any flack on the name at all from anyone, Kris? So you pretty much were able to go through the township and use that?
No, nobody came after us as far as the name goes. In fact, like I said, the people who work at the plant really liked the idea that we kind of took up that name, because it felt like we were keeping the spirit of the place alive a bit. Mm-hmm. Right. Now we have had some confusion. There's the Oyster Creek Inn down in Galloway, I believe.
Yes, it's down Leeds Point, I think it is.
Yeah, and people
right by Smithville area there.
We do get a lot of questions asking if we're tied in with them in some way.
Okay.
And we've had a few people. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We've had a few people come in and give us funny looks as far as some of the names that we have for our beers. Like one of our most popular beers is our Habanero Double Ipa, which is called Meltdown. Mm-hmm. And someone's like, "Oh, that's terrible. Why would you have Meltdown as the name of a beer?" And it's like, well, because it's really hot, and it's like it's a hot, peppery beer, And
you know what I like about your name?
What's that?
This extends. I'm always a big fan of how music and beer and this whole craft beer thing kind of go hand in hand. I think a good band name and a good brewery name are similar. Mm-hmm. Even if you didn't know the story behind your name, it's kind of one of those names that sets off your imagination. So I didn't know what your name was, and the whole time before he asked, tell us what your name was about, I'm going, it's really funny. Is it named after a town? Is there a town in New Jersey that's named Oyster Creek, or are they seafood fans? I was rifling off all the things in my head that your name was about, and I probably would have thought about it all night had we not answered that question. I've been wondering all night, like, what is Oyster Creek? I think that's a good thing for a brew. It's like great marketing when you have a name like that. That if you don't know the story, it makes you think.
Yeah. Yeah,
and Richard, next time you're here in Ocean County, I'll have to take you on a tour down Route 9 to the breweries that are there. You got Backward Flat, who I know you've been there, and Kris is a little bit further south, Oyster Creek, and we could hit the road all the way down. Now, you know, I wanted to ask about the name also, because here in Barnegat, there's a group trying to, you know, establish a brewery here in Barnegat. And the name that they wanted was Beer Naked Ladies, because I guess some women are owners on it, and you know, it presented, and they're still going through zoning, et cetera, and so forth. You know, Kris, I don't have to let you know, you know, I have the small towns here in Ocean County. You know, so you know, they want to make sure they're doing the best for their citizens, et cetera.
Yeah.
And there was an article in the Asbury Park Press actually brought them some publicity, because one of the councilmen or one of the committeemen objected to the name Beer Naked Ladies, because it's also the spot that they want to go into is a former ice cream parlor. So
right. Yeah.
So it got them a little bit of publicity. You know, hopefully they get through that, and maybe in a year or so I'll be talking to them like this, just like we are to you, because I came and saw you before you opened. So hopefully that expands. You know, a lot of new breweries are a little slowed because of the situation right now. You know, it may not be the top thing on the minds of the people running the municipalities, administration. You know, I know that we spoke to you know, a couple of breweries that have not yet opened. We talked to the Seed, a Living Beer Project, Amanda and Sean from there, and you know, they're waiting on a little bit of licensing. As are we spoke to Jack and Josh, who were the operations manager and the head brewer at Dr. Brew Little's, which is going to be in Maple Shade. They're waiting for some of this to go through, and even Richard, our friend Ian, the head brewer up in Battle River and Tom's River, they're going to be just about ready to go, and he's expecting at some point to get the approval to start brewing there. But I'm sure that this situation kind of slows down a lot of the cogs that run the administrative side.
Government services. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure it slows down government services a lot. Ask anybody who's looking for their unemployment check. I can't imagine what it's like to get approval on permits right now. I mean, that wasn't quick, you know, when times were good in a lot of places. So
yeah, that was another thing that when we opened, you know, big mistake on my part was like, apparently the process is, soon as you get your approvals to build, you're supposed to start filing with federal and state to get the ball rolling on your licensing. Well, in my brain, I thought like, well, we had to be ready to go before we apply for a license. So we were basically ready to start brewing. We had a few little details to finish up, and I'm like, oh, time to apply for that license. And you know, federal was like, you know, you should have done this months ago. But luckily, since we had all of our ducks in order and all the paperwork, and we basically submitted everything at once, and they were able to do a bit of fast tracking of us to get us to open. So,
but isn't that so much more efficient the way you did it?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it really comes down to, you never know what things are going to be a holdup along the way.
True, right.
So, but we were pretty, you know, when we did our applications, they were actually surprised how thorough we were with all of our, you know, our blueprints and our business plan and everything, so that when we submitted it, they go, oh, okay, it's all here. And then all we had to do was, we had to make a few minor changes, especially on the federal side. They wanted a few details changed in the way we, one of the things was our lease. The way the store was described was, it was described as store number 5, but in the applications, it was written as unit number 5. And the federal government was like, no, these are two different places. You need to straighten this out. So,
Oh my God.
so we had to have the lease amended to say unit number 5 because they did. If I changed it on the application, I would have had to gone through the whole process again. So they're like, just get your lease changed and we could keep this application open. So.
Oh gosh. Oh,
wow.
Wow.
Talk about quibbling over dotting the I's
Oh,
and
yeah,
crossing the T's.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about some of your beers, Kris. Now what I'm drinking here right now, this is the Half-Life Hefeweizen with the pineapple in it.
Mm-hmm.
A really nice beer. You know, I don't even have to describe anything. I can show everyone what it looks like.
Right. You just
really nice and refreshing. It reminds me of summer.
Yeah.
Reminds me of summer. Really nice, refreshing beer. Tell me a little bit about this one.
Well, we have our basic Hefeweizen, but seasonally, and whenever I kind of feel like it, we change up what it's fruited with. So during the summer months, we go blueberry. During the fall, cranberry. And then in the winter, it's like, well, nothing's in season, so let me just throw some stuff in there and see what people like. And apparently, this batch, this pineapple coconut batch, people are loving because it's flying out the door right now. It's, I think we're almost done with our last keg, and luckily, I have another batch in the fermenter, almost ready to go. So, but it's a pretty straightforward hef. You know, a lot of wheat and Hefeweizen yeast and you know, Hallertau hops, and it's a really basic, just solid recipe. And that way, you know, the rest of the beer itself is a good solid beer. So that way we can kind of mess around with it and have fun with it with the fruit we add. People have asked they want me to put out a variation without fruit. So that's always there too. Like, just maybe that might be the thing in the wintertime, we do just a straight hef. But yeah, it's one that I like to experiment with a bit. So,
yeah.
But it's probably our most popular beer.
It's nice, very, very refreshing. Really nice job on it, Kris.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Sounds good. You're not drinking anything, Richard, right? You're driving.
No, that would be very, very illegal.
Yeah. I did hear that you have a window now.
Yes. I've gained finally a back little window there. Yeah, I'm almost like a real adult. I'm just about there. Kris, if you don't know, I've had a back rear, like non-moving window that got broken. I don't know. I'm going to say a year and a half ago. So it was a duct taped art project forever.
Oh, that's always fun to drive with a flapping duct tape.
Yep. And went through many incarnations of layers of duct tape. So I just finally got it fixed during the pandemic.
Oh,
At the nice people at Safe Light. They're very nice in Cherry Hill, I got to say. They made it a nice experience. But yeah, I finally got it fixed. So a little piece of my life is gone.
And I heard there's a new name for your car. I never knew your car had a nickname, Richard.
Oh, what the rolling shit can?
Yes.
Yep.
Uncle Richard shit can.
Yep. Yep.
So, Kris, tell me how has your brewing schedule changed with the pandemic, et cetera? Has it changed? And what type of production are you doing now?
It has. So with my other job, I was not forced, but just like it just worked out that I would brew Mondays and Tuesdays. And with the family and the kids getting up, the wife and the kids get up in the morning at 6 o'clock to get off to school and work and whatnot. I would get up early and get there and brew on those Mondays and Tuesdays. And I was done by 4 p.m. So home early. Now it's a little bit more chaotic. It's I'm brewing more days. I'm brewing like 3 days a week now just to keep up with the demand. And it's sometimes a little hard to roll out of bed and get out of the house when when I'm I'm there running the tap room, so to say. I'm there filling cans and doing transactions in the evening. So I'm like, if I'm going to be here anyway, I might as well start a little later and finish up my brew day as the tap room closes down. So I get a little bit of a later start, which I've come to learn might not be the best thing. An earlier start might be better to get the brewing out of the way before dealing with the tap room craziness, just because it's been surprisingly busy. So we had a handful of staff working with us, and just with all of this going on, that we've kind of just taken upon ourselves, my wife and myself, to run the show ourselves. We occasionally get a little bit of help, but we're doing a lot of the legwork on it now.
Yeah, because I know a few months ago, before all of this, you were starting to break in an assistant brewer, someone to help you out the brewing process, or you had planned to, I know that.
Yeah, it's definitely something I still need, but yeah, I had a few people who would swing by from time to time and help out. And I had a person who was really eager to come on and help out, but as I guess you learn with running a business, it's hard to nail down reliable people sometimes. So, I still have to do the work, so I'm still there doing what I got to do. But yeah, we're definitely in need of probably an extra set of hands, or 2 or 3, especially once everything gets back up and running.
Now, did you run low on the actual canning material? Because I had seen some of the breweries say they were running low on cans.
We did early on. We were since we were only doing so much canning while the tap room was open. We were only getting like small, like 200, 400 cans at a time. But with all, with it strictly being packaged goods, we opted to get a pallet of cans, which in my little tiny brewery, a pallet of cans is always an adventure trying to squeeze it through the door.
Yeah.
So the first pallet of cans we ordered lids with it, and the lids were not on the pallet. We thought they were within the cans, and we called the company, and they said, no, there should be a separate box, and there was no separate box.
Oh gosh.
So they were like, we'll overnight you your order of lids that didn't ship. But in the meantime, I had to reach out to Tori at Backward Flag and Mike down at Pinelands to lids to make it through the weekend. And when you overnight something through the weekend, it usually still takes 3 days to get to you. So we didn't get them until Monday or Tuesday of the following week. So thank you to Mike and Tori for giving us a big help. It was a very big weekend for us. And without them, we would have just had to shut down. Basically, we would have no way to fill orders.
Right.
And that's what's great about the brewing community. We've seen it many times during this. With Brewery Strong, that Rob Callahan came up with the idea that many of the breweries got on board to help out those who are having a tough time, who were working in the bars and in the breweries. So it's always great to see the breweries connect with each other and help each other out. Tell us about some of the other beers that you have there. Now, the one that I'm drinking right now, Half-Life Hefeweizen. What does that actually mean? What's a half-life? We're going to have you give everyone a new...
You're going to give a science lesson?
A science lesson.
All right. Well, radioactive isotopes like uranium, they have what's called a half-life, where they decay over really, really long periods of time to basically they change into a new atom, so to say. So a half-life is how long it takes.
We lost them.
We did. We're probably coming up to that time anyway.
No, I had 10 minutes left.
Oh, do you? Oh, you got the thing over there, the clock over there? All right.
Okay, we are still with you. Chris had some technical difficulties, so we will talk about that. We already spoke, Richard. We spoke about the Cape May Virtual Beer Fest, but by the time this is out, they won't be. No one will be seeing that one.
Right.
Talk a little bit. I know that your guys, Fear and Craft Beer Planet, are recording again, and the shows are going out there.
Yep. We've been doing our quarantine chronicles, we've been calling them, which if you know anything about the laziness of our show, we may never get off doing Zoom shows ever. I mean, 5 years from now, it may actually still just be a Zoom show. Fear and Craft Beer Planet, the Zoom chronicles, for all I know, because I don't know, we like it.
Okay, Kris is back now.
I'm back.
Yay!
You're back. Hey, Kris. A little bit of tech. See, that's what happens when you work near a nuclear plant. Sometimes you get
The power goes out sometimes.
technical difficulties coming about. So tell us about some of the other. What's your favorite beer that you brew there
I love
at Oyster Creek?
I have a favorite singular beer, which is my coffee stout.
Nice.
It's Cold Fusion Coffee Stout, which is a mythical scientific principle of basically free energy. But what I actually love to do is I'll take the coffee stout and I'll mix it with the Habanero Double IPA. So I get what I call a Mexican coffee. So it's a spicy coffee stout.
Very nice. Very nice.
That sounds great.
Because I was doing this and people were interested in that, we added a board at the brewery where we have a few choice mixes that we've made, so customers can order like what we call the Brewmaster's Mixology. And but we've also had people try different mixes and offer them up to us as ideas to put on the board. So from time to time, depending on what we have on tap, we'll have a few like local patron concoctions that they've come up with.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice. So now, are you still? As far as you kept to the same brew schedule as far as type of beers that you're producing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. I've just found that I have to devote a specific amount of time to certain beers that we just move through a lot of. The Hefeweizen, the Habanero Double IPA. We started making a sour not too long, a couple months ago. Or no, it's almost a year now.
Say more. Tell me more. Hold on. Tell me more.
On the sour?
Yeah.
Richard loves his sours.
Can't tease that. Not.
Yeah, I just actually kegged the next batch of it today. That's why I was a little delayed. I was kegging beer, and but yeah, we've it's great sour. It's like a Berliner Weiss, and we fruit it. We've tried a couple different combinations on it, and initially I think we did black currant, which was pretty popular, but currently we have a black cherry variation of it, and that people are loving the black cherry. So but it's kind of funny, since it's such a light beer, when you add pureed cherry to it, it turns the beer pink. So you have a pink beer, but people love it. So
that sounds awesome.
But yeah, I've still tried to I still try to do a little bit of experimentation, and I try to devote like a new beer each month. So I have kind of a calendar of what I have planned for like the upcoming months of things that like I want to try, and just a one-off. It might be a one-time thing, like the beer of June is, my plan is a Belgian triple.
Right.
So, but last year we had a couple of good ones during the summer that I might just have to bring back. We had a black tea honey ale and a peanut butter and jelly ale. That two weird, kind of different beers that were surprisingly successful and hits. So those will probably be coming back into the menu in the next couple of weeks.
Nice. Excellent. Thank you. I think we're going to take a little bit of a break now. We'll come back. Kris, are you going to stay with us for the second half here?
Yeah, I'll hang out.
Okay, sure. Great. we're running actually out of Zoom time anyway. But the second half, we'll dig in and ask Kris some more about Oyster Creek. We will be joined by another second anniversary brewery. Jeff Greco from Heavy Reel will be joining us for the second part. So thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. We will be right back.